Hello everyone, this is Priyanka. Dear students, now we are going to discuss about another questions. In short answers, most repeated questions already we have discussed, and this is also one of the most important question in financial accounting and analysis. Okay, so you can get what these sources of funds or else fund flow statement. What is fund flow statement? So he will ask a question like this. This is the most repeated question. So first you need to understand actual what is fund flow. Okay, what is fund flow and where we will utilize this funds, and how this application and sources process will happen. First, you need to know what is fund. So, in brief, I will explain you what is fund. So, here, fund flow statement, he will ask, or else sources of funds. What are the sources of funds? There is a chance to get this kind of questions. Here, fund flow statement. Fund flow statement shows the sources from which funds were obtained and the uses to which those funds were put during a specific period. Here, once again, fund flow statement. Fund flow statement means what here? Fund flow is a statement shows fund flow statement shows the sources from where we are getting funds, and from which funds were obtained, the funds were obtained, and uses to which those funds were put during a specific period, from where we are collecting these funds and where we are implementing this funds. We are going to discuss from where, which kind of sources we are collecting these funds, and from where this collected sources of funds, from where we are applying. Okay, let's we discuss here. For example, sources of funds. These are the sources of fund. The first one is issue of shares, issue of debentures, long-term loans, sale of fixed assets, retained earnings. These are the sources of funds. The first sources of funds, where we will obtain the sources of funds from the issue of shares, we will obtain some funds, and issue of debentures, and long term loans, we will take the long term loan, right? Long term loan we will take and we will utilize in business operations, and after that we will repay this long term loan to the bankers, right? So long term loans, sale of fixed assets, we will sell the fixed assets, capital expenditure, already we have discussed, we will accumulate long term assets, and after that some period we will utilize for the business. Yeah, so sale of fixed assets and retained earnings. These are the sources of funds and applications of funds, where you are applying these funds in an organization. Like purchase of fixed assets, again we are going to purchase a fixed assets, maybe purchase of machinery, maybe purchase of furniture, maybe purchase of buildings. These are all the fixed assets, right? So we will apply for office utilization. So these are the applications of funds. And repayment of debentures, sorry, repayment of loans, repayment, just now I have said now, so that we will take loans, long term loans. Okay, after in long term loans, again what we will do, whether long term, whether short term, whether middle term, we will take loans, right? That loan amount we will repay. And redemption of debentures. Redemption of debentures means here issue of debentures, and after some certain period of time we will redemption of debentures, we will repay, right? And payment of dividends. Yes, we have announced the shares, right, in market, and after duration of completion of some period we will in the form of dividends we will give to our shareholders. So we call it as a payment of dividends. And increase of working capital. With the sources of funds, what happened? Increase in working capital will take place. Please take a screenshot of this. Again, I'm going to explain once again. Retained earnings. Retained earnings are the portion of company's profit that are kept in business, okay, after paying dividend to shareholders. Is that clear? Example, company having 1 lakh during the year, net profit is 1 lakh, dividend paid is 30,000, and how much remaining amount is there? 70,000. That 70,000 we are utilizing for organization purpose only. That we will call it as a retained earnings. For business expansion we will use this amount, or purchase of machinery we will use this amount, or repayment of loans we will utilize. Okay, retained earning is equal to accumulated profit kept in business after distributing dividends to shareholders. And what is this redemption? Redemption of debentures. Redemption of debentures is nothing but just now I said, right, repayment. Repayment of debenture liability by the company to debenture holders or before maturity. We will call it as a redemption of debentures. So guys, please try to understand this concept. Fund flow statement is nothing but fund flow statement shows the sources from which funds were obtained. These are the sources from where we are obtaining funds. Fund flow statement, right? Funds from where we will obtain: from issue of shares, from long term loans, from issue of debentures, from sale of fixed assets and retained earnings. These all are the sources of funds from where we are obtaining this funds. And where we are applying this funds, we are applying in purchase of fixed assets, repayment of loans, redemption of debentures, payment of dividends, increase of working capital. Fund flow statement shows the sources from which funds were obtained and the uses to which those funds were put during a specific period. Sources of funds. Please remember this point. Application of funds. If you write this, you will get the full marks. Thank you so much.